Well, good evening. I'm your host, Robert Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom Podcasts. Tonight's presentation is 7 ways why indoctrinated education and business PhDs are in unrealized limitations. Because it's prestige over presence. PhDs often parade credentials as clarity, never as indoctrinated education trains them to rehearse formulas instead of radiating wisdom. Degrees flex ego, yet rarely flex insight. Scripts over sovereignty. Business programming and academic indoctrination recycles inherited models. Innovation gets muted, imagination gets caged, and intuition is sidelined. Scripts enslave brilliance, sovereignty sparks liberation. Metrics over magic. PhD arrogance worships metrics, charts, and citations, mistaking accumulation for awareness. The result, robotic knowledge that lowers resonance and blocks wizardry. Counting cages creativity, magic ignites clarity. Indoctrinated education and business mindsets are unrealized limitation. Cages disguised as clarity. They rehearse obedience, mute imagination, and recycle inherited scripts that block wisdom, insight, and innovation. What looks like progress is often programmed stagnation, keeping sovereign creativity asleep while control masquerades as success. And the reason I do my podcast is I want to show you your intuition, imagination, and natural innate abilities and acumen will rise you out of the limitations of education. They're just a guideline. And business is all about what they can take from the people. It's not about the people, it's about what they can garner from the people. And if you listen to some of the podcasts and some of the Wall Street shows, and you listen and to hearken to wisdom, you'll understand what I just said. Why indoctrinated education and PhD ingrained mindsets are ancestral scripted programming manipulating today. Echoes disguised as expertise. PhDs rehearse ancestral formulas, mistaking recycled scripts for fresh wisdom. Prestige as puppet strings. Titles and degrees become leashes, keeping minds obedient to inherited hierarchies. And we keep following the path of our social obedience. Metrics masquerade as meaning. Numbers and citation replace clarity, muting imagination and intuition. Control over curiosity. Indoctrination cages questioning, ensuring obedience thrives while innovation dies. Arrogance as armor. Know-it-all postures shields ignorance, blocking listening and dissolving humility. Script over sovereignty. Ancestor programming dictates behavior, leaving today's thinkers trapped in yesterday's cages. Illusions of progress. Academic and business indoctrination parade stagnation as advancement, manipulating the present with outdated echoes. Why indoctrinated education and business mindsets are unrealized limitation. Scripts replace sovereignty. Indoctrinated education trains obedience to recycle formulas. Business mindsets echo those scripts, mistaking repetition for wisdom. Inherited scripts shrink curiosity as sovereignty expands the colorful curiosity. Metrics mute imagination. When business cultures worships KPI and ROI, nuances, and creativity advantages. Indoctrination ruins vision to numbers, silencing intuitive innovation. Numbers never decode essence, imagination does. Comfort zone cloning cages expansion. Indoctrinated thinking rehearses safety, treating risk as threat. Business mindsets cling to control, blocking the liberating voltage of innovation and creativity. Comfort zones are ceilings. Liberation is the sky of surprise and wise. Why indoctrinated education and business enslaving mindsets destroy wisdom, insight, clarity, and innovative wizardry within people, and that's the way they control the world. Scripts smother sovereignty. Indoctrinated education drills obedience, never originality. Business mindsets echo the same programming, suffocating wisdom and clarity under recycled formulas. Robots rehearse. Rebels resonate with innate talent. Metrics mute magic. When success is reduced to grades, KPIs, and ROI, imagination evaporates. Insight and wizardry get traded for numbers, leaving people easy to control. Metrics measure output, they erase essence. Control cancels creativity. Rigid systems worship control, mistaking domination for stability. Innovation stalls foresight, fades intuitive wizardry, is locked away to keep the herd docile. Control cages clarity, liberation births the wonders, and your wonders curiosity. Why indoctrinated education is inherited scripts of social obedience. Conditioning over curiosity. Indoctrinated education trains compliance, never creativity. It rewards memorizing recycled answers instead of asking liberating questions. Obedience is taught, curiosity is forgotten. Scripts masquerade as wisdom. Inherited lessons become unquestioned truths. These scripts echo through generations, shaping business and personal choices without conscious consent. What you think is a choice is often an echo. What you think is a choice is often an echo of yesterday. Control disguised as clarity. Social obedience is framed as success. The system confuses conformity with intelligence. Muting foresight and blocking intuitive innovation. Control wears the mask of clarity. Control wears the mask of clarity. Why corporations, indoctrinated education, business enslaving mindsets, and supply side economics will never raise the world out of war and poverty. Profit over people. Corporation and supply side economics prioritize accumulation over liberation. Wealth concentrates at the top while scarcity scripts remain intact, ensuring poverty persists. When profit is worship, peace is starved. Obedience over innovation. Indoctrinated education and business mindsets train compliance, never creativity or innovation. They recycle inherited scripts of obedience, muting the wisdom and foresight required to dissolve cycles of war. Obedience breeds repetition. Liberation births resolution. Control over clarity. Systems built on control, corporate hierarchies, rigid economies, and scripted education confuse domination with stability. They suppress authentic insight, and block the innovative wizardry required to rise beyond poverty and conflict. Control cages clarity. Liberation opens currents of peace and prosperity. Why I understand, I rise out of what is manipulating me and awakens to understand who is unknowingly manipulating the world as the so-called leaders of the world follow the manipulators. So basically what I'm asking is how are we manipulated in life without really understanding who the manipulators are? And we think there's people we elect and do things to raise us out of it, but they're actually manipulated by the same people that manipulate all of us. Inner liberation dissolves external control. When you rise out of personal manipulation, fear, scarcity, inherited scripts, you stop being a pawn of unseen forces. Clarity inside breaks the grip of control outside. And that's something I really want you guys, people, to open up to understand. We're apprehensive about life. We're never afraid of life. We're apprehensive because apprehension gives us a kind of opens a way for curiosity. And the manipulators of the world are very secretive. But when you understand and open up to witness the manipulation, you can see it in the world. Awareness exposes the invisible puppeteers. Awakening unveils that many leaders are themselves manipulated by systems, ideologies, and ancestral programming. Seeing this dissolves the illusion of authority. Leaders led by echoes are never leaders at all. Leaders led by echoes are never leaders of it all. And we may have some of them that are trying to, we call our leaders. Sovereignty replaces obedience. By rising beyond manipulation, you claim your own voltage of wisdom and wattage of innovation. That sovereignty lets you discern veracity from scripted obedience, liberating you from the herd logic that enslaves both citizens and leaders. Sovereignty is the antidote to socialized obedience. Why indoctrinated education and business programming is unknowingly manipulated by high ancestor hierarchy. Echoes masquerade as logic. Ancestor hierarchy embeds obedience into education and business models. What feels like strategy is often recycled fear and scarcity from generations past. You think you're choosing, but you're echoing. And how are we echoing today instead of choosing? And I really understand I am echoing in some places as I am opening up to understand my manipulation becomes from my parents on down, on back to the beginning of time. Indoctrinated scripts hijacked innovation. Indoctrinated systems rehearse ancestral safety patterns, avoid risk, cling to control. This unknowingly cages innovation, creativity, and blocks intuitive foresight. Innovation suffocates when inheritance dictates imagination. See, most of the stuff we have today, we've inherited from our past and our parents. Hierarchy disguises control as wisdom. Ancestor hierarchy teaches that authority equals truth. Truth and reality have a lot of viewpoints and opinions and beliefs from yesterday involved. So how can you really, how truthful is truth in reality? Business programming repeats this confusing domination with clarity. Business programming repeats this confusing domination with clarity and enslaving minds to outdated models. Control is sold as wisdom, but it's only yesterday's cage. Why indoctrinated education and business enslaving PhDs create robotic thinking, knowing, learning, and knowledge. Degrees over discernment. PhDs often rehearse prestige instead of presence. Indoctrinated education trains them to be a parrot formulas, producing robotic knowing that silences wisdom. Credentials don't never equal clarity. They can echo the cages of yesterday's rages. Metrics over magic. Business mindset worships KPIs and ROI, reducing learning to numbers. Imagination, intuition, innovation get sidelined, leaving mechanical minds that mistake data for depth. Counting kills curiosity. Resonance revives and thrives in our trend-setting skills. Ego over evolution. The know-it-all arrogance of indoctrinated system blocks humility and insight. Wisdom and wizardry are replaced with rigid repetition, lowering the voltage of human creativity. Ego rehearses evolution. Ego rehearses, evolution liberates. Why the media is national puppeteers spewing indoctrinated education, business enslaving PhDs, and outside control. Headlines as leashes. All the headlines on the national news are leashes to keep you inside the social obedience. Media never just informs, it scripts obedience. By recycling indoctrinated education and business jargon, it keeps her docile under the illusion of knowledge. Headline heard, wisdom liberates. Headlines herd the people into the cages, and wisdom liberates people from themselves. Prestige is propaganda. PhDs and experts are paraded as unquestionable authorities. Their egotistical arrogance is broadcast as truth, while imagination and intuition are muted. Degrees become puppets, never prophets. Control disguised as clarity. Government narratives flow through media channels dressed up as facts. What's really delivered is obedience, training, never insight and innovation. Control wears a suit, but it's still a leash, as liberation wears blue jeans and a shirt, and cowboy boots in the dirt. Why metrics over magic controls the world. Numbers masquerade as truth. Metrics dress as objectivity, convincing the world that spreadsheets equal wisdom. Magic, intuition, imagination, resonance get sidelines as unmeasurable. When numbers pose as truth, wonders get silenced. Control loves what it can count. System worships what they can tally. Metrics become leashes, keeping creativity obedient and innovation domesticated. Counting cages, curiosity control. Counting cages, curiosity control thrives on captivity. Illusion of progress. Metrics create the illusion of advancement. Charts climbing, profits rising, while magic's voltage of insight and clarity is ignored. So when we're looking at the good economy and everything, we're all involved in that, which is a good thing, but our individual insight and clarity is ignored. The world is ruled by appearances, never essence. Graphs rise, but wisdom falls. When indoctrinated education and business enslaving PhDs, egotistical know-it-all ignorance, have zero imagination, innovation, and intuition and inspiration, lowering the standard of living of the world. Arrogance over awareness. PhD-driven indoctrination often confuses credentials with clarity. The know-it-all posture blocks humility, silences intuition, and smothers imagination. Degrees never guarantee wisdom. They can rehearse egotistical arrogance. Scripts over sovereignty. Business and academic programming recycle inherited formulas. Innovation is sidelined Creativity and innovation is caged, and inspiration is replaced with robotic repetition. How do you witness a lot of robotic repetition in your life? I witness it in mine a lot. Scripts enslave sovereignty. Scripts enslave, sovereignty liberates. Metrics over magic. By systems worship metrics and prestige, they drain the voltage of your ingenuity. The result, lower living standards, stagnant economies, and a world starved of authentic wizardry. Prestige without imagination is poverty in disguise. Prestige without imagination is poverty in disguise. Why indoctrinated education and business enslaving PhDs, egotistical arrogance, know-it-all ignorance, have zero imagination, innovation, intuition, inspiration, lowering the standard of living of the world. Arrogance over awareness. PhD-driven indoctrination often confuses credentials with clarity. The know-it-all posture blocks humility, silences intuition, and smothers imagination. Degrees never guarantee wisdom. They can rehearse the egotistical arrogance and know-it-all ignorance, keeping you stuck in stubbornness and hard-headedness. Scripts over sovereignty. Business and academic programming recycle inherited formulas. Innovation is sidelined, creativity is caged, and inspiration is replaced with robotic repetition. Scripts enslave sovereignty, and sovereignty liberates. While indoctrinated education and business enslaving PhDs know-it-all ignorance shuts off listening and questioning abilities to rise out of stubbornness and hard-headedness. One, ego blocks the ears. PhD arrogance rehearses certainty so loudly that listening becomes impossible. Their know-it-all posture drowns out dialogue, muting the very questions that could liberate you. When ego shouts, wisdom whispers and is unheard. Script replace curiosity. Indoctrinated education trains repetition, never reflection. Business mindsets echo the same rigidity, turning inquiry into taboo. Stubbornness thrives when curiosity is outlawed. Script silence questions. Sovereignty sparks clarity. Prestige protects ignorance. The prestige of titles, credentials, shields, and hard-headedness from challenge instead of involving, they defend their cage, mistaking stubbornness for strength. Prestige props up ignorance, liberation dismantles illusion. Why business enslaving PhD mindsets. The ego blocks the signal. PhD arrogance rehearses certainty so loudly, listening becomes impossible. Intuition gets drowned out by ego static, leaving zero room for resonance or fresh insight. When the ego shouts, wisdom whispers unheard. Why energetic liberation, politically incorrect inspiration, cowboy wisdom dissolves the stubbornness of indoctrinated education and business enslaving programming. It's raw voltage over rigid scripts. Energetic liberation bypasses the stale formulas of indoctrination. It shocks the system awake, dissolving stubbornness by pulsing clarity where rote repetition once ruled. Liberation electrifying, programming petrifies. Politically incorrect inspiration sparks over polished obedience. Politically incorrect inspiration refuses the polite cages of academia and business. It provokes question, cracks the illusions, and dissolves the arrogance of know-it-all ignorance. As veracity offends before it liberates. Cowboy wisdom over ivory towers. Cowboy wisdom rises straight into reality, hands dirty, eyes clear, heart sovereign. It dismantles PhD ignorance by proving that live grit outshines lived and experienced grit outshines scripted prestige. Boots in the dirt beat boots in the dirt beat heads in the clouds. Why energetic liberation, energized listening, maverick questions, politically incorrect inspiration, cowboy wisdom destroys indoctrinated education and business enslaving PhD mindsets. It's voltage over vocabulary, listening is liberation, truth, veracity over taboo, cowboy wisdom over ivory towers in the dirt, dismantle robotic theories, presence over prestige, innovation over indoctrination. Fresh insight floods in once the program walls collapse, birthing imagination, intuition, and inspiration. As boots in the dirt dismantle robotic theories, proving grit outshines credentials. And that's something that the world has let go of, and we don't realize. The country, when it was young, people had to do everything, but we were doing things without all the technology of today, and we got our hands dirty. And you know, I love technology, I love AI, but I have to ask myself this question: how is all this technology stealing my get my hands dirty wisdom and putting my hands in the dirt and walking in Mother Earth to rise internally? Because everything I understand, I use AI a lot, but AI, how does it steal my natural grounded innovation, wisdom, insight, and clarity? That is something I do, and that's what my podcasts are about: everyday life and how we have to really listen to it and participate and facilitate our everyday life to rise a fresh wisdom, insight, and clarity. And I am Robert Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom Podcast and Cowboy Wisdom Hypnoacuity. And may your night be as blessed as you are a blessing to the world.